Welcome to Democracy 2.0 with Wayne Bouchard, and you're hearing this on malcolmpresents.com, a new streaming internet station platform, actually, that you can hear on a 24/7 basis, and you can hear all the old shows because we're all recorded. Anyway, Wayne, what's happening? Welcome.
Well, you have to be living under a rock not to recognize that there's a lot going on in the world, and we're going through a really, some serious struggles and some dangerous times. And there's some things that I guess since the show is about democracy 2.0 and what comes next after democracy, I kind of like to just start out with a couple of idiotic new laws and new comments that have been suggested, to further dilute our democracy instead of enhancing it. The Republican candidate for governor of Pennsylvania in a debate last night said that if he's elected governor, he is going to purge all of the voter rolls, kick everybody off, and start over again. You're going to have to go out and re-register to vote. Now, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard in terms of, voter registration. Why in the world would you purge all of the existing voters? And of course, then we have the state of Florida, who has just signed into law creating voter police, a special police force to monitor elections. Another, it's just a disaster waiting to happen. And a political stunt by a guy who's looking to run for president in 2024, playing to the base, wants to make points for himself. And the same thing with, the governor of Pennsylvania. These things are just outrageous and so unconstitutional.
Well, they're jumping on the Trumpian bandwagon, which basically Trump said the elections are rigged, especially. Well, I don't know. They're rigged if he wins. They're rigged if he loses.
Yeah, they're rigged if he loses. But that is a predominant characteristic today of being a Republican, saying that the 2020 elections were rigged, and Trump won the election and Biden didn't win. And here we are in April, almost May of 2022, going on 2 years. And they have yet to prove a single incident of voter fraud. None.
Or they have, I think.
Minor infractions, one being one of those infractions of, someone voting incorrectly was Donald Trump's chief of staff voting in the wrong voting district.
Right. That's what they.
So that's kind of ridiculous. But
the problem is, if you speak to people, and I've spoken to people, this is where I'm in Los Angeles, who swear by it because Fox News said it, and it's been proven, and the media is, and the liberal press doesn't want to report it,
right?
And they are buying the lines of Donald Trump, of saying you can't trust the press. The liberal press is trying to suppress anything, and in some instances they're right that they do suppress certain things, but in general they're saying you can't believe the press. I mean, he's saying in all his news conferences, if you've seen them, see back there, those reporters, they don't show the big crowds over here. They are trying to think I'm a minority, but we are the majority, and all the people yell.
And in the meantime, we have Tucker Carlson on Fox News, recommending that men turn on this some sort of heat lamp and fry their testicles because of we have lower testosterone rates and lower sperm counts, and they're going by some medical study that involved 4 people. 4 people.
Yeah, since I don't listen to Tucker Carlson.
Oh, you haven't heard about tanning your testicles?
No.
Wow. Malcolm, you're missing out on the story of the year.
I hate there was a time in my youth there was a popular nude sunbathing, but I didn't care for that. I like my tan lines. I liked nude swimming in the ocean.
But
when I got
there's some company that's manufacturing this special light that you can use, and it's all based on a study of 4 individuals. And this is national news on Fox, the Fox News Network. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. In the meantime, we have innocent people being killed, children and older people in Ukraine being slaughtered. And they find time to talk about such nonsense. To me, it's just sickening. It is sickening.
Well, it's talking about the news. I have not seen any follow-up stories about the election in France. I know Macron has won by 40, I think 57% to
58%, 41%, something like that.
But I haven't seen any follow-up stories, and that's one of the important stories of the world.
Well, it gives me hope that maybe people are beginning to think a little smarter and have a little bit more, discernibility about who they're going to vote for, rather than, jump on the bandwagon of the latest, rhetoric. There was an interesting article in the New York Times about hate. Where does hate come from? And and I just printed this out, and I'd like to read this.
Okay, go ahead.
This professor wrote this book about 8 billion and counting. Population pressures are blowing the top off the pot already boiling with poor governance, civil war, and environmental destruction. At best, there's only dim hope for a peaceful future. When the pot boils over, countries across the globe feel the effects in the form of refugees and terrorist extremists. That's where hate comes from. It's just it's just and here's another. It goes on to say a third demographic transition is underway in Europe and the United States. The ancestry of some national populations is being radically and permanently altered by high levels of immigrations of persons from remote geographic origins or with distinctive ethnic and racial ancestry, in combination with a persistent sub-replacement fertility and accelerated levels of immigration of the domestic population. So, here we are, we're back again, we're talking about the fact that all these politicians, are upset because white, male, Christian of European heritages are becoming minorities. And that is what this is all about.
Well, that's what I was saying. Make the MAGA, make America great again. It's
right.
Make America white again. It should be
right.
MAWA.
Right. Make America white, Christian, European ancestry. And I got into a discussion yesterday with somebody, and how do you reconcile this whole thing about the immigration of all these people coming here from Latin America of Spanish descent. Last I checked, Spain was a European country and also Christian. You know, what are they considered?
I don't know. I don't know why you know, Latinos you know, are not considered white.
They are white. They're well,
They're brown. No, they're brown.
well, they have integrated with the indigenous population of, you know, what was already here in Latin America, and you know, then they became brown. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I don't know too many. I wonder what the population would be if we just bred purebred people who could trace their lineage back to Adam and Eve or whoever.
Yeah,
Without any intermarriage.
Yeah, they all intermarried. Think of that. You know what? And another aspect of this whole hate thing was, you know, the Anti-Defamation League, you know, is reporting that anti-Semitic incidents have risen 34% from 2020 to 2021. The number of his incidents in the United States rose 34%.
Yeah.
That's kind of alarming statistic to think that, you know, what has happened to our world.
Donald Trump
Took the gloves off and made it okay to say whatever the hell you wanted, whenever the hell you wanted to. Except if it involves gender or sexual orientation, then it's not okay. Why is that?
Again, basically what you know, the inception of what we were talking about, you know, democracy. I don't know if democracy works with uneducated populace, where democracy and I think started in the Roman times, and the people who voted were all, you know, more or less educated.
Let's look at who is perpetuating all these lies and all this hate and fear. You know, senators, congressmen, you know, presidents or former presidents, and highly educated people. Those are the people that are, you know, that are talking about the big lie, you know, that the election was stolen from Donald Trump, yet we can't prove it, but we know it's true. You know, how can we accept that as fact? But those are the perpetrators of all this hate and all this fear and all of this anti-democratic sentiment is coming from people who are well educated.
Right, but the thing is that they're delivering it to people who are less educated and inflaming them.
So they bear no responsibility for their you know, incendiary tactics.
Right, because remember that they said, I'm not so much against the people who say this. I disappointed the people who vote for them.
Well, the people who say it are you know, they should not be in public office.
Yeah, but how come they vote? How come they voted in? How come half of the populace voted for Trump again? He got how many? 140, 130 million votes?
No. Oh, wait a minute. No, he got.
Well, he got almost half.
Well, I think Biden got 75 million. He got 60 million, something like that.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's still 60 million people who voted for him.
Yeah, and also keep in mind that, you know, probably over half of the population didn't vote.
Yeah, yeah, but after he was 4 years in office, and his, you know, the policies that he did and the lies that he did, and the, hate that he spewed, but yet he had all those many voters. So what does that say about the voters?
Voters, they react to situations. What is the most important thing that voters react to?
Probably to their money, their
Pocketbook.
pocketbook.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the first and foremost. It's the economy, stupid. Remember that line?
Yeah, but the thing is, the rich got richer and the poor got poorer.
And who's talking? And who's talking about that?
Well, I think that the Democrats are, they push the wrong agenda.
They're more interested in talking about gender issues than they are income equality issues, and that's a mistake.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, many men couldn't care less, and a lot of women couldn't care because a lot of women are, basically happy with the status quo.
Right.
Many women aren't. I don't want to start this whole thing that women are happy for their positions, but many of them, when I was growing up, it was just to the beginning of women's lib. Where women want to be treated equal as men, which is rightly so, but yet they wanted, as a date, they wanted me to, open the door for them, be the so-called gentleman. And
I don't think there's anything wrong with being a gentleman, and you can still be, very conscientious about the fact that women have had a very difficult time in our society, and you can be pro-woman, pro-feminism, and still open the door for a woman.
Oh yeah, but they wanted to. They wanted the best of both worlds. They wanted equality, but to be not treated equal. They want to be treated better.
I don't think that's the case. So before you get me in trouble with my wife, let's shift gears to
now, Meg is understanding. I know her.
Let's shift gears to Ukraine, because I'm very, very concerned about what's going on in the Ukraine, and I'm very concerned. One of the things that struck me today was that I heard that the UN Secretary General visited Russia on Tuesday, and then he went to the Ukraine today, which is Thursday. So 2 days later, he goes to the Ukraine, but he goes to Russia first. I think that's a bad image, number one. And secondly, I think the United Nations has totally dropped the ball and mishandled and abdicated their responsibilities and duties of taking some kind of action. I think that Russia should be kicked off the Security Council, their membership revoked, because all they're going to do is continue to veto Security Council resolutions. The war crimes and slaughter that's occurring in the Ukraine is just, it's just unacceptable to people in the 21st century. The United Nations has done absolutely nothing. They didn't know anything about what happened in Syria.
It never has.
Yeah. So what the hell good are they? Why do we have the United Nations?
We still have a hope that maybe.
Still have a hope. Why doesn't somebody turn the whole bloody place upside down?
Well, I don't know. Hope springs eternal.
And it's these kinds of activities, that we didn't do anything when Putin went into Georgia. We didn't do anything when he screwed around a little bit in Ukraine. We didn't do anything when he went into Crimea. We didn't do anything when he went to Syria and committed atrocities in Syria. And now all of a sudden the world is up in arms because, he's killing and maiming and people and destroying an entire country. If
And
you
this is-
look at those pictures of, what is that town? Mariupol?
The what?
The photographs that you see on the nightly news of that city that they have surrounded, and the people are all holed up in a steel plant.
Yeah,
It's Mariupol, right?
yeah. Mariupol.
What's the difference of those photographs of the remnants of that city compared to Hiroshima? Looks the same. They destroyed the place.
Hiroshima.
And yet and yet the United Nations does absolutely nothing.
Well, I have a question. When the U.S. Got into the war in Syria, in Iraq, did the UN do anything? Did they condemn them when we went in there because of weapons of mass destruction, which proved to be
right?
Well,
They didn't do anything to the United States either. We lost so much credibility in that part of the world as a result of that action. It will take more than 50 years to repair that diplomatically. That was a serious error in judgment.
Well, as I think I mentioned, going further back when I was in my back in 1975, I was friendly with a group of Cambodians who were totally anti-American. Why? Back in 1970, when we were involved with the war, a lot of the Viet Cong would go into the villages in Cambodia to hide.
Right.
And the U.S. government went to President, I think it was President Sihanouk, King Sihanouk, who is it Sihanouk? Anyway,
I don't recall.
who said that we'd like to bomb, the villages, and he said, well, there are innocent people there. Yeah. And the U.S. said, well, it's collateral damage.
Yeah, collateral damage.
Right. So he said no. So the CIA arranged the overthrow of his government. And
so they could get away with bombing.
Yeah, and put the General Lon Nol in. And Lon Nol said, oh, of course, come and bomb us.
Yeah.
Have
fun.
And
Have
then
fun. Try out that new Agent Orange stuff that you guys had.
And then 1975, we said, okay, we've had enough. We're leaving. So we left. Lon Nol was totally corrupt. And that's when Pol Pot came in. And he was crazy.
Right.
And
so we get another crazy
dictator. 1.5 million of the Cambodians. So a lot of the Cambodians are not, even though they came here, they're not sort of like pro-American. And of course, now we're the best friends with Vietnam, which we should be.
Well, that's because we're using their cheap labor to manufacture clothing for us, because China got too expensive.
Yep, that's definitely. But politics. Again, I think human nature sucks. I think totally human nature is very selfish, very self-serving, and especially the people who are uneducated, who not necessarily uneducated school-wise, but aren't aware of things. There's a difference. There are people who are educated, who know things, but they don't know the world.
Well, the world would collapse if it wasn't for the quote uneducated people running things at the lower end of the spectrum. Look what's happened in this country alone over the last few years. Restaurant. Have you seen a restaurant that doesn't have a help wanted sign hanging out?
Well, I haven't been going to restaurants lately.
Well, just drive around. There's help wanted signs everywhere. Restaurants, all of the department stores, every store in the strip mall, every store in the main mall, help wanted, help wanted. You know why? Because we don't have anybody working, because we scared all of the illegal immigrants here to hide out and do something where they couldn't get caught. And we have no new people coming into the country.
Well,
What middle class kid in high school goes and gets a job in a restaurant washing dishes?
Well, I got a job in college as a waiter, which I made good money.
That was about 150 years ago, though, Malcolm.
A little more than that.
There just aren't any people to work. High school kids don't work. Most of them don't work.
Well, they work on the computer.
They work like this. They can work on their phones, but
Right. Well, I mean, part of it is that, like, say, restaurants aren't paying, living wage, or neither is the
they
department.
never paid a living wage, never. And yet they always had employees. You know why? Because they had people that were coming into the country as new members of our society that wanted a job, any kind of a job. All they needed was a paycheck so that they could live. And we shut the borders down. We don't want them anymore.
Yeah, that's another thing. And now, as far as the borders, I think you mentioned that there, which I'm still in. I question. I think it's 42, the thing where that's the one who's seeking the immigrant seeking asylum, register, but they're kept in Mexico and they can't come in this country because of the quarantine with now I'm not sure about that. I think they should, people who come in should be free of any disease. That's been even since the days of Ellis Island. People who've had diseases were kept in the hospitals there. Of course, the big thing is now, do they have COVID or not? Should they be examined for COVID? But the question is, they shouldn't be kept in Mexico for, so many months. They
So many months, it's years, Malcolm.
Yeah.
And why do the people in Mexico have to put up with it?
Don't know.
Why is it okay if they have COVID or any other contagious disease for them to be, held up in Mexico and not in Texas? Let's say.
Because they haven't crossed the border yet. They're still in Mexico. Now the question is, why hasn't there been any immigration policy for years? Why aren't there more?
It's a political issue.
Yeah,
the last president that tried to do anything about immigration was George W. Bush.
I think it was George Washington.
No, it was George W. Bush who was going. He ran in whatever year that was on a platform. That was one of his. That was one of the things that he wanted to do was fix the immigration law.
But did he do it?
9/11 occurred. That's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is they have, so it makes me think of this, or democracy isn't as great as it is touted to be by the American government.
Well, I will quote Winston Churchill again when he said, "Democracy is a terrible form of government, but show me one better."
Well, I know that I agree with, but the question is, it has to be.
It has to be fixed. Has to be fixed. Income equality is disastrous. Disastrous. The people that are making hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars are paying less taxes than that person. Well, I'll just give you one example. Why is it that Warren Buffett's secretary pays more taxes than he does when he's making billions?
Because
she's making, $38,000 a year, and she's paying more taxes than he is.
Because she doesn't have
his criminal.
She doesn't have his accountant.
That is criminal.
It is. And how
But-
could someone like Elon Musk pay $44 million in cash for Twitter?
No, it was 40. First of all, it's billion.
44 billion.
He didn't pay for it. He had I think it was Goldman Sachs and
Yeah, he had some backers.
JP Morgan financed it. But he's the richest man in the world.
And he's made more money during the pandemic than I think probably most of the country. I'm sure than the rest of the middle class.
I don't know what he paid in taxes last year, but I can assure you that it wasn't a hell of a lot. It was a minor blip on the radar screen compared to the poor slob who's making $50,000 or $75,000 a year, and he's got 2 kids and he's trying to support his family. He has to pay more taxes than a guy like Elon Musk.
Talk to me about it. And
a continuation of that type of inequality in income, those are what create revolutions. That is what drove the French in the late 1700s to invent that little machine they called the guillotine.
Yeah, well, let them eat cake. They have no bread.
Let them eat cake. Right.
But anyway, for someone who had earlier before the show, you said, I don't know if I have enough to talk about. Our half hour is up.
Yeah, and I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 more items I want to talk about.
Well, you have to save them to next week where you'll have another 10.
Yeah.
Anyway, good speaking to you. Good seeing you. I'll see you next Thursday, which I'm sure a whole other list of topics.
Okay, Malcolm.
Okay.
Take care.
Be well.
Have a great week.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye.